All right, let's talk about something that feels like it's straight out of science fiction. Hydrogen-powered cars. For decades, right? It's been this futuristic dream that could totally change how we drive. But is it still a dream, or is it getting real? Let's dig in and find out.
Okay, picture this. You're driving a car that feels totally normal, but the only thing coming out of the exhaust pipe? Water. Just pure water vapor. No smog, no nasty carbon emissions, nothing. That is the incredible, almost magical promise of a hydrogen car. I mean, sounds perfect, right? So, what's the catch?
Yeah, before we get to the catch, let's really dive into that promise. What is it about hydrogen that gets people so excited about the future of driving?
Well, it boils down to a few really big, powerful ideas.
The appeal is pretty obvious, isn't it? The absolute #1 benefit is that it's a clean fuel. Inside a fuel cell, hydrogen mixes with oxygen from the air to make electricity. And you know what's left over? Just water. That means absolutely zero emissions from the tailpipe. It's a direct hit against city smog. It helps us move away from fossil fuels. And on top of all that, these cars can be super efficient.
So yeah, it really does sound like the perfect answer to a lot of our problems. Which brings us to the big question. If it's so great, where are all the hydrogen cars? Why aren't we all driving one? Well, as it turns out, going from a great idea to something you can actually buy and use every day, that's where you hit some pretty massive roadblocks. And the first one is all about money.
And that brings us to the first big hurdle, the price of progress. We're talking about the cold, hard cash it takes to get a brand new technology like this off the ground.
You're basically hit with a cost double whammy here. First off, the cars themselves, they cost a whole lot more than a regular gas-powered car. And then there's the fuel. It's not cheap either. Making pure hydrogen is a really complicated, expensive process, so when you get to the pump, you're paying way more than you would for gasoline. That right there is a huge wall for most people.
Okay, but let's say you've got the money. You buy the car, you can afford the fuel. Now you have an even bigger problem. Where on earth do you fill it up? This number you see here, it's just mind-boggling. For every 1,000 gas stations we have, there's roughly one hydrogen station. Just one. That kind of scarcity makes a long road trip impossible, and honestly, it makes even just daily driving a huge gamble in most places.
And this chart really drives that point home. I mean, look at the difference. We totally take our massive network of gas stations for granted, right? They're everywhere. But to build a whole new network for hydrogen from the ground up, that is a massive, incredibly expensive job. And it creates that classic chicken and egg situation, you know? Why build expensive stations if no one has the cars? But why would anyone buy a car if there's nowhere to fuel it up?
So the money and the infrastructure are huge issues. But even beyond that, there are some pretty serious questions about the technology itself, about safety, and just how green it really is.
And these are the two questions that you always hear, and for a really good reason. I mean, when you're talking about putting a whole new type of fuel into millions of cars, you've got to be 100% certain that it's safe and that it's actually helping the environment.
So, let's break down these core concerns. First, safety. Let's be real. Hydrogen is a highly flammable gas. That means the fuel tanks in these cars have to be absolute fortresses. We're talking super robust, built to handle insane pressure and survive a crash. Then you've got the sustainability question. Sure, the car itself only emits water, but what about the factory that made the hydrogen fuel? How clean was that process?
And this is a really, really important point that a lot of people miss. It takes a ton of energy to produce pure hydrogen. And right now, most of it is made using natural gas. A process that, you guessed it, releases carbon dioxide. So in a way, you're not getting rid of the pollution, you're just moving it from the car's tailpipe to a factory smokestack somewhere else. The only way to get truly green hydrogen is if the whole production process is powered by renewables, like solar or wind.
Okay, so we've looked at the amazing promise, but also some really tough problems. But the story definitely doesn't end there. The challenges are big, for sure, but so is the potential payoff. So let's shift gears and look at what's coming down the road.
And this quote really nails the vibe in the industry right now. The scientists and engineers working on this stuff, they know all about these hurdles. They're not ignoring them, but they are still very optimistic. They see a pathway through the challenges. And you know what? We're actually seeing real progress being made. And we're not just talking hypotheticals, we're seeing real, tangible signs of progress. The technology for the fuel cells themselves is getting better, more efficient, more reliable. The cost to make the hydrogen? It's still high, but it's slowly starting to come down. And maybe most important of all, governments and big companies are finally starting to put serious money into building out that infrastructure we talked about.
So what does the roadmap to success look like? It really boils down to hitting three major goals. Number one,
Get those costs down for the cars and the fuel. Number 2, keep improving the safety to make sure everyone feels confident in the tech. And number 3, and this is the big one, make sure the hydrogen is produced cleanly using renewable energy, so we're not just trading one problem for another. And all of this leaves us with the big ultimate question. We've got this incredible promise of cars that only emit water, but we've also got these huge expensive hurdles. So, is hydrogen really the fuel of our future? Or is it just a very costly distraction while battery electric cars take over? Honestly, the race is on, and the next few years are going to be absolutely fascinating to watch.